start paying a damn market. They were great rules.
Oh, you saw that email?
You know, one of the guys is a wide receiver that's
Miami game was really strong for him.
he actually one of the things he did today is he resigned from the National Rules Committee.
Okay.
He said giving people that are on that and everything else is
Good afternoon, everyone. It is 6 o'clock. It's time to begin our November 17th meeting. It's time we'll call ourselves to order. And, Mr. Face.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. The City Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items, and there are 11 items on the consent agenda. The first item involves the approval and acceptance of minutes and reports, and there are 3 sets of minutes lettered 1A through C. 1D involves the Finance Committee report for October 2015, and as a synopsis, reported the unassigned general fund balance was approximately 7.26 million, or a little more than 7 million as of the 31st of October. The total fund balance was a little more than 27 million as of the same time. Item 1E involves the office space lease agreement for Airwood Aviation LLC. This is for the purpose of referring to council for your general awareness. This lease, which provides Airwood Aviation with temporary office space while they develop expansion plans to establish a pilot center for advanced aircraft known as Cyrus. Prospects indicated will involve the eventual sales, management, and storing of these aircraft in a 10,000 to 12,000 square foot facility that the owner would construct. Item 1F involves the summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, city manager's settlement of claims, and city manager's discretionary fund. For the purpose, there were no claims settled nor expenditures for the manager's discretionary funds during this period. The number of contracts awarded are 25, and they total approximately $369,000 change. Item 2 on consent is the award of contract for an asphalt distributor truck for the engineering department, streets division. And this is for the purpose of complying with section 34.01 Monroe City Code, which requires purchases in excess of $100,000 to be referred to City Council. There were 3 vendors that responded. The lowest priced responsive bid, without exceptions, was submitted by Caroline Catt in the amount of $174,217. There were exceptions with Linder Industrial Machinery involving the lack of controls that required the cab, nor did they have a cleanout system with a separate storage tank, and therefore were excluded. Item 3 under consent is the award of contract for the fire engine apparatus to Pierce Manufacturing and Atlantic Emergency Apparatus, Inc. This is for the purpose of complying with section 34.01 Monroe City Code, which requires purchases in excess of $100,000 before referred to council. Staff used the cooperative public procurement process of HGAC BUY to identify and competitively procure this apparatus offered by Pierce Manufacturing and Atlantic Emergency, Inc. in the amount of $525,874, which will be discounted by 10% with a prepay option down to $506,000. Item 4 is the budget amendment for the replacement of the 2008 Ford F-450 tool truck for the engineering department's street division. This is for the purpose of authorizing the replacement of the Ford F-450 to be funded through Powell bill funds in the amount of $55,000. Item 5 is a call for multiple public hearings to be held on December 1st. First of which is for consideration of Level 2 Economic Development Incentive Grant not to exceed $110,000 to be paid in 5 annual installments based on the company's projected total investment of $5 million in building improvements, equipment, and machinery over this period. The company is expected to pay ad valorem taxes of approximately $146,000 on the new capital investments. And also there are 3 hearings involving the zoning map amendments for properties at the following locations. First of which is at 809 South of Church Street, from residential R10 to office transitional. The second is located at 1157 Curtis Street, from general industrial to conditional district, batter up hitting and pitching facility. Third is located at 1959 Old Charlotte Highway, from conditional district Cushell property to conditional district Cushell property amendment 1. Item 6 is grant acceptance for runway 5 medium intensity approach lighting system improvement project at Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport. This is for the purpose of accepting NCDOT funds totaling a little more than $1.2 million, affirming the city's in-kind contribution of $166,000 and change, awarding contingent contract in the amount of $811,000 and change, which was submitted by Southeast Site Services, a work authorization for construction administration by Talbert and Bright, the airport engineer record in the amount of $138,000 and change, and payment of $205,000 through a reimbursement agreement with the FAA for maintaining the reinstalled approach light system. Item 7 is a grant agreement for runway 5 glide slope, relocation project to Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport. This is for the purpose of accepting NCDOT funds totaling a little more than $2.7 million, affirming the city's in-kind contribution of approximately $303,000, awarding the contract in the amount of $2.2 million submitted by Eaglewood Construction, increasing the work authorization for construction administration by Talbert and Bright, which is the airport engineer of record, from $215,000 to $275,000, which is roughly a difference of $60,000, to address the FAA requirements associated with additional earthwork to site the navigation equipment. Item 8 under consent is the grant agreement for runway 23 extended runway safety areas, phase 2 at our airport. This is also for accepting the NCDOT funds totaling approximately $1.5 million, affirming the city's in-kind contribution of approximately $170,000, awarding the contract in the amount of $1.2 million submitted by Eaglewood Construction, and the work authorization for construction administration by Talbert and Bright, and payment of roughly $215,000 to affirm the reimbursement of a payment for mitigation to the NCDNR Ecosystem Enhancement Program in the amount of $106,590. Item 9 is the ordinance amending 2015 to 2016 fee schedule for the airport ground handling service fee. This is for the purpose of establishing a new fee of $10.50 per passenger for aircraft with 10 or more passengers. The city has been notified of a charter company interested in starting operations involving travel of approximately 25 to 30 individuals. The projected revenue from this additional fee is approximately $7,000 annually. Item 10 is a resolution approving the North Carolina Department of Transportation Improvement Programs fiscal year 2016 through 2022 Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport project listing. This is for the purpose of approving for submittal the staff and engineer of records prioritization of capital projects totaling roughly $35 million, spanning a planning horizon of 7 years for their inclusion in the state's aviation planning system and for their consideration for future funding by DOT's aviation grant programs. These project prioritization considers taxiway, runway, and facilities. Item 11 under consent is the upgrade, replacement of a 3/4 ton pickup truck to a 1 3/4 ton tool truck for engineering department's street division. This is for the purpose of authorizing an additional $25,000 and $25,216 to allow this truck's replacement with an upgraded model to support the division's maintenance requirements, adding lockable storage compartment for anti-theft, and for providing enhanced towing capacity. This concludes the synopsis of the items considered for the consent agenda.
Council have any questions, comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. On the regular agenda, item 12, ordinance to declare certain property located on 1001 South Parker Street unfit for human habitation and order dwelling repaired or vacate. Comments?
Good evening. I'm Lisa Stywinter, Planning Director with the City of Monroe. I'd like to bring before you a petition for ordinance to declare 1001 South Parker Street unfit for human habitation and vacate and close. I'd like to first orient you to the location. It is highlighted in blue. It's located at the intersection of Parker Street and Robin Street, and then the rear or the east is Haynes Street, and then Food Line is over to your right. The site is approximately 0.17 acres, and it contains an existing dwelling that is 1,239 square feet. This dwelling has been vacant for 7 years. An inspection was conducted by staff on July 9, 2014. During the inspection, staff noted multiple violations of the minimum housing ordinance that included failing roof, missing plumbing, exposed wire throughout the house, broken windows, deteriorated siding, holes in the walls and ceiling, and then weak floors throughout the house. Just like to show a few photos. Code enforcement officer held and conducted a minimum housing hearing on July 28, 2014, in which the property owner did not attend. As a result of the hearing, the code enforcement officer made and entered an order finding said dwelling to be in violation of the minimum housing ordinance, determined the dwelling to be in a deteriorated condition, and ordered the property owner to repair or vacate and close within 90 days. 1001 South Parker Street has a tax value for the structure in the amount of $39,300. So and then the cost estimate by HCB Construction, which is the licensed contractor, provided the city with the estimate of $18,963 to repair the dwelling, which is less than 50% of the tax value of the actual dwelling. So that is why it's considered to be a deteriorated dwelling versus dilapidated that you are normally see or presented to. Due to the condition of the structure and adverse impact it has on the area, staff is recommending council adopt an ordinance to declare the property unfit for human habitation and ordered the said dwelling to be vacated and closed. I'll be happy to answer questions, and Robert Russian was the code enforcement officer, and he can answer questions too.
What about the property owner? What do they have to say? I know they didn't show up for the hearing, but have you contacted them? Have you talked with them at all?
Yes.
And what did they say?
He put me over to a landscaper. He's supposed to be fixing it. Never gets done. I actually got the phone with 5 minutes before the meeting.
Is this property only local?
She's in Connecticut.
Lisa, in the last several months, staff's been directed to look at alternatives to demolition. Where are we on that? What have you come up with?
Staff has been researching different programs. We've met management, attorney's office, planning, have all met to discuss. We have been meeting also with nonprofit organizations for partnerships. So right now we've been gathering research, having meetings with nonprofits to develop a program to be presented to council. I think the manager had indicated maybe in January. So we're moving forward. We're looking at options. And
I move that we adopt the request that you're making.
What nonprofits have you been meeting with, Lisa?
so far, we've met with Habitat for Humanity. We met with Monroe Union County, CDC. I think the Monroe Housing Authority has indicated some interest in possibly discussing or partnering with the city. Those are the ones that we've looked at so far. If there's any other out there or suggestions, we'll be happy to meet with them if anybody knows of any others.
If we approve this action that you're requesting tonight, What happens with a house, and I noticed today, I went by there and it's already boarded up, so they've already complied with, or maybe the city boarded it up, I don't know who boarded it up.
Right. And the city did board it up. The ordinance tonight is before you to vacate and close. If it's approved tonight, then we can post it as unsafe for human habitation and prohibit it from being used. According to state statutes, within a year, we can evaluate it, and if there's no intent by the property owner, or if we prove that there's not any intentions to repair, we can bring an ordinance back before council to discuss, and it will determine the state of the condition of the house at the time, as whether an ordinance would be discussed to repair and demolish. You would give the property owner another 90 days to repair and demolish, or if it's in a dilapidated condition, you would be adopting an ordinance to give the property owner 90 days to demolish and remove. So after the 1 year expires, if the ordinance is adopted tonight, staff would evaluate it to determine if there's been any type of improvements. If not, we would bring it back before council for another ordinance, depending on what it may be at that time. Technically,
to clarify it, this would give them the time to repair, and they could bring it back into compliance during that 1 year period. But if they don't, that's when they could come back to
correct.
the council.
But tonight's ordinance adoption doesn't prohibit them from continuing to repair.
And has the property owner been advised of that? Have you talked to him about that? You said they keep referring you to a landscaper. What have you talked to them about? What did they say?
You know, to repair the property, you know, they said that they gave money to the landscaper to come into compliance with the property, fix it, but the landscaper telling me, nah, they didn't, you know, he say, she say. So I can tell them we come out to the property owner, we don't go out to the landscaper.
Has it been reevaluated since July of 2014?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because in your statement, that's the date that you gave.
In order to determine what violations are outstanding, we always do a reinspection.
Well, I suggest that you put that in your report.
Is the property have a leaking roof, or is there water getting into the property anywhere?
Yeah, the roof shows signs of leak. You see water spots leak in their ceiling. Yes.
Okay, that would be my major concern on something like this, is that, you know, if you've got water that's leaking anywhere into the property, if the property owner is not going to come in and try to make repairs, then you've got a property that could have significant more damage by the time that somebody would want to make repair. And I hope that you move forward vigorously with trying to work with a nonprofit or someone that might be interested in coming in and trying to maybe acquire some of these properties so that the repairs can be made before they get to the point where, you know, it's just not really a good idea or, you know, responsible to try to make the repairs. Call for the question, Mayor. Call for the question.
For a motion and a second.
All right, motion and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Item 13, planning retreat.
Mayor, I just want to verify that it sounded as if it were unanimous. I think we just making sure that all members voted affirmative.
Well, actually, I want to make sure that I go on record as saying when we come back in a year, I'm not going to vote to demolish this house. So I want to make sure that we talk to these nonprofits and we do everything that we can do to make sure this doesn't happen. But yeah, we'll be unanimous with that stipulation.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Yes, Mayor and members of City Council, I'm requesting the board consider a board retreat this January and in the future after each year following municipal election. The suggested date is during the second week of January on either the 12th, 13th, or 14th for a one-day retreat at a semi-local venue. We've made some contacts with a number of facilitators, and subject to the board having interest to hold a retreat, we'll make final arrangements with one able to accommodate the desired time frame. The preliminary objectives for the retreat that I would offer to the board is initially to review last year's products from the January 2015 retreat that was held at Lake Wyling, discussing organizational opportunities and obstacles for strategies, developing strategic priorities, and finally developing and discussing near-term goals and their sequence of effort and commitment. And so I would ask the board has guidance on a date, objectives, and location preference.
What day are you saying, what?
I'm suggesting the 12th, 13th, or 14th, which is your, if you will, your off week between your first and third regular meetings on the first and third of the month.
I don't have a problem with one of those dates.
Other comments?
Well, I think it's a good idea to have a retreat, but this needs to have 100% participation. We did not have that last time, and I think that we need to have that, and if we don't, then we may need to rethink that.
Okay. Other comments?
You're not gonna have 100% participation this time either, Mayor.
Okay.
So go ahead and rethink it.
Okay, is anyone else that cannot come at that time?
My grandson is scheduled for some surgery that we don't think would prevent me, so I don't know.
All right.
Well, I guess the question is would there be 100% participation if we change the date to another date?
Not for me, Mayor.
Okay. So, no, there will not be, apparently. Would any other date be better for you? I know you don't know. I know that. Okay. Okay. Other comments? All in favor of one of those dates, say aye.
Mayor, you don't have a motion, you don't have a second.
I so make the motion.
Okay.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor of having a retreat on one of those 3 days?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor, I might suggest, Mayor, that from what you're hearing, you may want to give staff some discretion on working with council on those dates, as opposed to locking into those 3. As you've heard, a member may
Well-
not be available, so perhaps it would be provide direction to staff to look at January for available dates for as many council members as possible.
And if the board was so inclined, if there's, once we learn specifics and possible conflict, I can advise the board of an alternative.
Okay. That sounds, we don't need to vote on that.
That doesn't conflict with your, okay.
Oh, sure.
We don't need to vote on that, do we?
Well, what you've done is you voted to go with those dates, so my suggestion would be is that perhaps you have another motion, just.
I'll make another motion that the city manager use his discretion in lining this retreat up sometime in January.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
That
You
needs a second and a vote.
Sir, you need a second and then a vote.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any more comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Nobody opposed. All right, good.
Mayor, before we go to public comment, I'd like to make a statement or make a request if we could. I'd like to ask our city attorney to check into it, being it will be a legislative action that's going to need to amend the ordinance, and that is that to change the dates of the Monroe municipal election. Apparently, we vote when nobody else votes in the county, and from the last several elections, as long as I've been here, we have had low voter turnout. Last time, just recently, we had 1,000 people come out and vote. It is expensive to have our own election. I think we need to go ahead and have the election the same time that the county does. I don't know why it was changed so many years ago. I'm sure there was a good reason back then, but I cannot understand why we're doing that. We're spending too much money. We need to go ahead and move that to when Union County votes, and I would like to ask the city attorney to check into that to see what it is we need to do, because we got 2 years, and it may take 2 years in order to get that changed.
Councilmember Duncan, let me make sure I clarify what you're asking for. Are you asking to look at going from the off-year municipal election to the even year when the county is voting?
No, what I'm asking to look at is when we had the just recent voting with Indian Trail, Weddington, everybody voted in November. We voted in October. We were the only municipality that voted in October. What a waste of money that was.
And I wanted to make sure because you'd mentioned Union County, but I think I understood that you were looking at to make sure we're voting at the same time as the other municipalities.
Right. And I think it would save us some money.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Nay, Mayor.
Okay, one opposed. All right,
And if you could bring that back to us and to discuss, thank you.
okay. Yeah. Public comment period this time. Is anyone who'd like to address the council? I don't have anyone signed up here. Okay, if no one wants to address the council, we'll go to item 15, closed session on item 15. It's time to go into closed session. Will somebody make that motion?
I move to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS section 143-318, .11, A1, and A6 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of chapter 132 of the general statute, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness of an individual, public official, or employee.
Okay, I have a motion to go into. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, right before we go in, we got some minutes.
Mayor, you need to wait till the closed session, till everyone's excused, and then you can do that.
All right,